country. I have aspiring leaders for the Wajir region. Of course, they have, one at least has been here in a different capacity, but now joins the politics of that region. And first of all, gentlemen, I'd like to bring you in on that particular issue of the inclusion of women in leadership. Dr. Mohammed Sheikh, he is an aspirant for Wajir South, member of parliament position, and Salah Abdi Sheikh, beg your pardon, aspirant for the governor of Wajir position. Now, first of all, you've heard what they're saying. They want more inclusion in terms of leadership for women in that area. What's your take on this, in the practicality and the possibilities of including more women in their leadership?
Okay, there are different platforms here. One is, are the women ready to vote for women? Because they're talking on TV, they're saying this, they're having conferences, but that's being felt on the ground itself. Where I come from, Wajir County, 92% of the population are illiterate. Do women even understand that there is this requirement, this need for women to be included in the leadership? So we need to do more about that. We need to educate people, we need to create awareness forums, we need to tell people the benefit to actually join these political forums. In my capacity, as an aspirant, what I've been looking for is a lady to actually vie with me as the deputy governor. And I have not found anybody yet, because people are scared. Women are actually scared of putting themselves on the ballot. So there's more to be done on that particular
Is it then a reason to be blamed on the community in terms of leadership for women? Are they subdued, intimidated, especially talking about Wajir?
Well, look, time has changed. Time has changed, and many of the traditions evolved. And therefore, I don't think whether there is the issue of them being perceived as unable leaders. That is about the younger generations. But obviously, there are pockets of issues that do exist, where actually communities still perceive them as the unable persons or people. So I think things are changing, but they're changing at a slow pace.
Unable in terms of competence?
Sort of. The competence is the thing that they normally regard simply because of, as a challenge, simply because of where women were in the beginning, in the kitchens, in other places, at home and looking after kids and all that. Now, but people's perception over this has changed over a period of time, and that is changing because we've got more educated women now in that region. We've got more learned people who can really understand the capacity of women to be able to participate in civic activities and development.
All right, you've spoken about some of the issues about education and socioeconomic issues, but is religion one, for instance, in Wajir, that would cause women to shy away from leadership positions?
I think not really religion, but the system now they call negotiated democracy,
yes,
which does not, by the way, include women.
At all? At all.
At any level, there has been no woman who has been included, or a female aspirant who has been included for any position.
Doesn't that speak loud about,
including the position of MCA, which is a very, which is considered a very...
Doesn't that speak volumes about the community and its perception on women?
It says a lot.
Because at the heart of negotiated democracy is the clan leaders, the elders.
So the cultural aspect of it, not really the religious aspect, but the cultural aspect of it, whereby they consider, the way he said, the ability, the qualification, or that attribute of being leadership, or of holding leadership positions, that might actually have translated itself into the negotiated democracy, where it is generally men who sit, and it's generally men who are considered for positions, and generally men who are agreed upon. So for those of us who are actually opposing that, we're saying we need to include women in this issue. We need to bring, why don't we have, if we have a governor who's a male, why don't we have a female governor? Why don't we have 50% of the CECs being female? Why don't we have 50% of any directorate level being women? What is the problem? Because we take them to school, we pay for them university fees, we pay millions of shillings in university fees for ladies. If you go to University of Arabia now, from our region, you will find thousands of ladies have joined the university, but we're not allowing them to have opportunities. So I think there is a problem which is not being solved. There's a problem. And that problem, maybe women are contributing because they are not speaking up against this negotiated democracy issue, which is not allowing them.
If the ones at Bombers heard you, they would have an issue with you.
But if I can get into that.
Dr. Omar, yeah, because this is negotiated democracy is the issue we're talking about. So are we saying that negotiated democracy, quote unquote, is a form of dictatorship?
Look, before I can answer that, let me get back a little bit to the points my colleague has raised. And the most important thing, there are two entities that you need to look at They are the women entity and themselves being prepared for the leadership, or getting themselves ready for the leadership, or negotiating for the leadership, bringing their names forward, for instance, to the gubernatorial position, or perhaps member of parliament position.
Wajir,
and all that.
no lady who
I'm coming to that. There is that entity. There is the entity of the elders in the community and the leaders and all that, traditional leaders for that matter. Now, if you look at those two entities, where do they meet and mix? That is the key thing that is important for us. And I'll explain what that particularly means in short. What that means in short is that has there been communication along the board between women coming to say, hey, look here, we want our position. We want to be part of the people who are participating in civic development and civic rights and civic participation in general. And the elders and the traditional community leaders coming out and saying that we are accepting women to become our governor. We're accepting women to become our members of parliament. We're accepting women to become our ward representatives. Now, these are two fluid positions now. But let me now answer your point. Where women are ready, where women are bringing themselves forth to become the leaders of the place, there are women who have already said that.
In Wajir.
In Wajir. They want to become the women rep, for instance. There are a number of them. Now, there are, ward representatives who came out on that.
I think there's two issues here. One, if you go to the democratic, they negotiated democracy, which I call clan fascism. It's actually a dictatorship, a form of dictatorship in which people are not allowed to express themselves as individuals, but as groups, as clans. What they're trying to do is, okay, women rep position is already reserved for women. There's no other person who will actually come and contest on that. But we're talking about MCS, we're talking about MPs, we're talking about senator, we're talking about governor. And across the board, from Garissa, Mandera, wherever all this negotiated democracy phenomenon has been taking place, there has been no one female aspirant who has been considered for any position. So you can look at it as, you are disregarding 50% of the population.
Yes.
And women are the ones who vote more than, if you go to these areas, women are the ones who vote more than men. In the county I come from, women are the ones who own more business than men. Now, there's a lot of contradictions here.
Right.
So the society, we should have condemned this negotiated democracy because it creates a situation in which it is sort of intimidation of the whole group, including the women, into a sort of a box whereby they have to actually take a predetermined position. It's not a democracy. It is a clan census.
Right.
So that clan census excludes 50% of the population.
I mean, as Salah brings up the point, I mean, women rep, it's more or less.
Look, there's no question in my mind that there are few women who are actually fronting for positions, political positions for that matter. But what
besides women rep.
Yes, beside the women rep positions. But what I tend to disagree on is that the issue of negotiated democracy, the way it is perceived, the way it is seen, the way it is considered within societies is actually upside down. I'll rather put it that way. Now, we are told it is negotiated.
Right.
Now, obviously, there is a democracy that is going within the community in the sense that they are coming together, deciding who becomes their leader and why they should be, that person becomes their flag bearer.
So you pretend that it is all inclusive?
It is all inclusive in the sense that, for instance,
if it's just some elders who are negotiating this,
I think the elders are representatives of the communities. I'll complete my point. I'll complete my point. You see, elders are representatives of communities, are representatives of clans, tribes, and the likes. Now, they have got the say from within their clans. The words and the important points that have been raised by their communities is what they bring to the table and discuss. And they say, hey, look here, what we think is that this is the right person who is supposed to be leading our community. A very simple example is the way I came through. We have gone into a negotiated democracy. We have done ballot papers, through secret ballots. We had 34 elders, community leaders who are coming from each sub-clan. And within those are the ones that are discussing and saying, look, we have decided that this is the right person for us. So that is already a negotiated democracy.
On that point,
that is inclusive.
We are a constitutional democracy. In this country, we have a constitution. We are a democracy in the sense we're not a failed state.
Sure.
What has been happening in northern Kenya is we are pretending to be a failed state. We are pretending that there is no ABC. We are pretending that there are no political parties.
In fact,
you have 34.
In fact, it is the decision of the community that
you have 34 elders. You have 34 elders. You have 34 elders. It doesn't include the youth. It doesn't include the women. That's over 75% of the population is not represented. So a cohort of the population are the ones who determine what happens in that population. How does that translate into failure as we go along? What happens is executive positions in the county are shared along the same line. Eventually, women end up not being given positions. Youth end up not being given positions. What happens is that mediocrity is not, people are not being given positions based on merit or on need. They're being given based on clan numbers.
I think your assumptions
excludes. Let me make a point.
If I go to Wajir, there are 3 main clans, and there are 20 others. None of the 20 others is being considered. The 3 main are the ones who share out the resources and leave the rest to.
But if I can come to this debate, if I can come to this debate,
everybody else.
If I can come and correct a few things, if I can correct a few things here, the all-inclusive aspects of the elders who are representing are not necessarily as elders as the elders as people who are overaged or who have retired and the likes. They're young men and women who are within included in that.
But who has a swing vote, so to speak? Who has a swing vote, so to speak?
No, they are representative. It's similar to the National Assembly. It's similar to the National Assembly.
Isn't it representative of the majority clans or tribes?
Yes.
Those are the ones that actually carry the day.
Exactly. And they are the ones representing. And they are the ones representing the leaders. But the point that Saleh is bringing and others have brought up is they're not just those monopolizing or dominating communities.
Let me just give you a small example. A small example.
These are the majority of the group. Now I have to complete my statement. The majority of the leaders, of the elders, the elders are coming from the majority of the clans and the tribes and the people that they represent. That includes women, that includes children, that includes youth, that includes adults. And therefore, the all-inclusiveness that they come to the table on that.
So I have the elections anyway.
Let me give you an example. Before you go to the next, let me give you an example.
The grassroots relationship is what we're discussing now. We are not discussing at the final voting period. We're discussing at the grassroots preparations
to take you to the final period.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
But that planning in itself is the thing that helps the community to decide and say we want to reduce the number of people who are coming to the aspirations, so that can reduce their logistics. That can reduce their money on that.
It is decisions. Let me give you an example. Junaid Mohammed, the MP for Sunai. Yes, he's from Mandera. If he was under the negotiated democracy in Mandera, he would not be elected a borehole chairman. He will not be elected a borehole chairman. You understand? Because let me tell you, this is a form of dictatorship. It's the worst form of dictatorship because it creates people becoming automatic voters. They go to the voting booth already predetermined, already without thinking about what is the ability of the person they're going to vote. And every 5 years, we have been crying about poor leadership. But we have been doing the same thing. All the 3 counties now, when you go there, what do you hear? 40 billion has come to this county. Nothing is visible. Why? Because of the system you have used. You have not used a competitive system. You have not looked at merit. You have considered only 25% of the population.
The decisions of merit and experience are the things that the elders do consider on that. And therefore, they've already considered that. That is where they determine the individual to be able to be coming in and say that this is the man who is supposed to be our flag bearer or the woman who is supposed to be our flag bearer. Therefore, in that case, the issue of calling negotiated democracy as undemocratic, personally, the way I see it as that is that a few people may be unhappy with the process that they have gone through themselves. Particularly yourself, maybe.
So you are happy because you're a beneficiary of this negotiated
setup. I am absolutely happy because I know the process, the way it took place.
And
the shoe wearer knows where it pinches.
Let me give you an example.
My brother failed on it.
I come from
and therefore that's why he's a bit antagonistic towards it. So it's already there.
I come from the constituency which is Vine. I was born there. I was brought up there. I grew up there. I used to have cows and goats there. The issue is I will not even be considered in his constituency. Having been born there, brought up there, grew up there, went to school there, I will not be considered for position of an MCA.
Votes and numbers and who do you know?
I will not be considered for MCA and where you come from. Despite my abilities and despite my 18 years of activism, they will not consider me for an MCA. So you can expect that kind of situation because I come from a minority class.
So that's the point.
You will think this is a system where they consider all the things he's talking about. No, this is a system of patronage. This is a system whereby few people impose their interest on the community.
The unfortunate circumstance on that is that the gentleman sees it as not coming from a particular larger tribe, means that it is undemocratic for him not to be chosen simply because he's an activist. That is unfortunate for him. Anyway,
not
if he sees it that way,
no, he has a right to take part in this process.
He feels he needs to be known. He needs to be known by the community.
Simply because
I'm a citizen of Kenya. Within the community, and that's where it works.
So you want to tell me that
we're talking of grassroots elections? We're not talking about the national level of elections.
But what you're calling grassroots,
who is the one who is to be taken to parliament? Not anybody who comes from anywhere.
Dr. Omar, what you're referring to as grassroots elections and decisions.
Exactly.
Is what will lead to the final decision.
Yes.
So that is why there's hue and cry as to what will lead to the leadership. What will lead to
there are definitely deficiencies.
Of who will lead.
There are definitely deficiencies. There are definitely deficiencies in every process. The way deficiencies are there in the general elections in this country that do exist is the same thing.
Right.
Therefore, people need to understand from the reality that the grassroots relationships and the communities, the way they build and develop and agree on points that for this year we want to see a leader coming from this particular section.
Are you saying that this structure as it...
There is a point which needs to be said.
Yes.
There is a point which needs to be said. There are political parties. They will do what we call primaries. That is the start of the political process.
How do you get to that? From the grassroots position?
This issue precedes the... It comes before the primaries. So positions have already been predetermined.
You see, perception
what IEBC is going to do, what IEBC is going to do in Northern Kenya.
Perception is one thing. The reality is another.
I think you should allow me to talk.
Okay.
What IEBC is going to do in this will be relevant if we continue the way we're going. Yes. Because already these are predetermined by a group of people, mostly those who have money and those who have larger tribes. So it disenfranchises everybody else.
But I wonder what
the minorities
my brother
and the women
would want to suggest.
If you are promoting that, this is the same system that Somalia, which has been at war for 30 years, this is the 4.5 system that they use. We are not Somalia. We have a system that works. We should not allow ourselves. We should not allow a system that leaves out 75% of the population on pretext like on gender or on minority clans.
All right. Let me just take this particular story on this particular issue we're discussing here. And women in Wajir have challenged the negotiated democracy brand of politics that is commonplace in the county, saying it denies them political representation. A group of women leaders who made the remarks during the low-key International Women's Day celebration had this to say.
The few women made the brave steps against the dictate of centuries-old culture to celebrate the International Women's Day in Wajir. They walked through the town to enlist the support of hundreds of businesswomen in Wajir open market, but it did little to improve the situation.
Unajua kila mahali unajua wakina mama wanaambiwa hivi na hivi na hivi na wanaume. They have been misled by men. Sasa hiyo ndio wanasikiza.
Despite efforts to reach larger number of women and even placing commercials in the local FM station calling on women to turn up for the event, they still did not succeed.
Kina mama wazee wanamwambia msiende. Hawa ni wale wakina mama wa reject. Hawa ni kina mama wataka kusikia maneno wanaume yao.
The women walked to almost empty Wajir Barazabak, and to attract a few onlookers, they doubled up as entertainers since there were no arrangement for that. Their efforts to raise the numbers to carry on with the day's activity proving futile. Any other public baraza and this place might have been parked. Despite the challenge, they carried on with the day's speech, which criticized what appeared to be the preferred brand of politics here.
Kuna kundi za ugas na sultan walipochaguliwa, na hawa pia wanapigia debe wenzao wanaume, hawaangalii maslaha ya wakina mama. Wanapigia wenzao wanaume debe, hawataki wakina mama wa contest.
Speaker after speaker challenged the Somali cultural practice, saying it is outdated and not applicable anymore.
Kuchaguliwa kwa kura si mambo ya kwenda kwa msikiti. Hatuendi kusalisha wanaume kwa msikiti. Hatuefukui kadi, hatufungi wanawake ndoa. Tunasimama kura na tunaenda ofisi. Ni kama kazi ya kawaida ile tulikuwa tunafanya mbeleni. Si kazi ya dini. ni kazi ya ofisi.
They called on mothers to rally behind fellow women aspirants in 2017 elections. Nurdin Almoge, NTV, Wajir County.
It's a good place to pick up on a discussion with Dr. Omar and Salah Sheikh, both who are aspirants in Wajir. Dr. Omar for the Wajir South Member Parliament position and Salah Sheikh for the governorship position. And you've heard, at least you've seen some of the ladies who are vying for MCA positions and their sentiments about the lack of inclusion for women, and they're seen as rebels if they do in fact try to vie for political positions. One of the ladies there says that this issue of negotiated politics of democracy is outdated and does not serve our needs and our reality now with the constitution that we have.
Absolutely. Look, there are things that are important to be improved. There are things that really need to be looked at and therefore changed. Like, you know, allowing women more participation in the civic position is no doubt one of the principal things of any human rights. Now, that needs to be considered and that needs to be looked at. The way it is being observed and looked at is the problem. And that is where the elders have failed. And there's no doubt about that. I mean, nobody can be in the woods to be able to disagree on that. And therefore, what I normally see is that the way negotiated democracy has been crafted, developed, and established is the thing that is wrong. But it itself, in principle, it is the best way communities can be able to negotiate their positions, simply because they are larger tribes, they are smaller tribes, and they are the middle ones. And therefore, bringing them together and harnessing that, there has to be a process that needs to take place. What is the alternative is the question for me.
What is the alternative? Is go to the elections and let people decide.
What is the alternative is the question for me.
With their vote.
From within communities, that is. From within communities.
What is the issue that was, for those who don't understand the inception, the genesis of this whole structure, what was the issue that it was trying to solve? Or at least, what was it trying to avoid?
What it was trying to avoid and to resolve is it was trying to bring in harmony within communities. The harmony that it brings within communities is that people sit down on the table, discuss and say, look, we want to have a single leader. We want to have a leader who is going to take us through forward. And this is the person that we have identified.
Is this because,
now,
is this because elections and at least the choice for everyone to go by whatever they decide didn't work?
Let me come to a very important point here. A cosmopolitan, you know, city like or region like Nairobi, for instance, there's so many people that are within that. The best option out for them is to go into the ballot on that. Now, what you don't really understand is that back in Wajir, for instance, there are the three major tribes. The three major tribes want to come to the table. There is one gubernatorial position. Everybody can vie and vote for that. But what really happens is that they are the minority tribes and they're the larger tribes. What they need to do is to come together and say, look, I'm going to give you this position as a deputy. You give me this position as a governor.
Now, is there any consideration given to performance and competence?
Until we reach a level where we say that we have got no tribal positions, we have to accept the reality that there are clans and tribes people live in, and therefore they negotiate out their resources.
Kenya as a country also represents many tribes.
Look, you're expecting me to be standing up when I'm a baby. I need to crawl first. And these communities need to be given that
still a baby?
Exactly. 53 years is just about a year ago for us. And that is what it is. It is still the same thing happening in Kenya, in the presidential position, for instance.
Right.
You know, people are on tribal
nothing
things.
right about
people
it. Nothing right about it.
Therefore, don't look at it on the Wajir aspects on it.
It's not just Wajir.
Allow the people to reach a level where they can say they have reached a level good.
With all due respect,
certainly.
You have been to the world.
Sure.
You have traveled more than I've traveled.
Yes.
I have read about it, probably I've traveled a few places, but you have traveled and you have lived in places.
Yes.
I don't think whether that is the experience you want to bring to us.
No,
because if that is the experience, if those of us, those of us who are educated, those of us who have seen the world, those of us who have experienced how things are out there, should not be advocating for a system that in itself is based on discrimination.
To the contrary. I never advocated for
Let me finish. You had your chance.
To the contrary.
You had your chance. You had your chance. Let me finish mine. We should not. Because one, what is the experience we are transferring our people, to our people? 92% of the population that is illiterate. what brings about this negotiated democracy is not because there is need for harmony. Harmony is the state that's supposed to assure us that harmony. And because we have these internal things that are going around which nobody understands, that is why that area people look at it as a security zone. That's why that area is never settled. If you remember, the negotiated democracy took place, it was highly implemented to the letter in Mandera. What happened in Mandera the last 5 years? Over 300, 400 people were killed in clan clashes. Because this system, the ones who have the numbers, the clans that have numbers dominate everything. Right. And they actually divide everything among themselves, including the county resources, which becomes a thorny issue, which creates the same disharmony that they were scared of.
Right.
So you see, if the system is against the constitution, provision of the constitution say more than 2/3 cannot be one gender, isn't it? That's the provision of the constitution. If it cannot bring somebody who is on merit, if I cannot be elected on merit because of what I am proposing, because I am proposing programs that solve issues.
Your point being, it is unconstitutional.
It is unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional. It's against the election laws. If somebody,
there are 2 points I want to make.
It's against the election laws. Because it treats people, it treats the voters. They come together. They actually treat the voters. They give them food. They give them, some of them give them. The elders are paid. You understand? So the whole system reeks of unfairness.
Right.
But there's one thing that still stands where we started. It discriminates against women, and it discriminates against youth.
Right.
And on that score alone, it's a system that should not be.
If we put our debate on the deficiencies of negotiated democracies, then definitely the deficiencies will be looked at outweigh. But the issues then here are, what are the benefits? What are the benefits? Do the benefits outweigh the deficiencies
on
here?
Keeping it as a structure, if you know
what I would emphasize on is that, does the deficiencies really outweigh the benefits that we do have? The reality is this. We will come into the middle aspect of it. Definitely we need more women in participation in civic development, and that is what I would be advocating for, and that is the platform where
inclusivity of other tribes?
I'm coming to the point. When it comes into other tribes and other people, that is inclusiveness as well, is what it looks at, in the sense that when the negotiated democracy is coming, for example, what we have done ourselves was on the ballot. It was not a democracy negotiated based on my clan and where I'm based. In fact, the sub-clan I come from is the lowest number in population-wise within the bigger tribe.
But you just said you're going to benefit from the negotiated democracy.
And I did.
But then if I had applied, let's ask you, if I had applied, would you consider me?
And therefore, I have. You need to give me my minute. You need to give me my minute, which I did. So the point is this, because I need to clarify these points that are important. What is really important here is, coming from the minority group myself, I have benefited through that. Why was I seen as that? Was it a democracy? It was a democracy because I was coming from the minority group, and therefore that really needs to be emphasized on, and not the deficiencies where actually negotiated democracy is regarded per se as a problem.
Dr. Omar, you say you have.
We need to be clear out of this.
You've said you have benefited, seemingly confident that indeed you have gotten the endorsement of the elders to run for Wajir South
through ballot box. Yes, we've done through our ballots. You can watch the NTV news on that. Yes. So through our ballots, where the elders have sat down and looked at the merits of the individual, what can he do for us? What development has he done so far? What were the civic participations that he has already committed and has done it? Through that is when they have seen that I coming from the minority group. So you are saying from the minority group
that
is there. So the minority issue now is pushed off.
Has actually benefited from
absolutely. And I am a living testimony for that. I'm a living testimony.
The question is, it was very simple. This thing is very simple to look at it.
Yes.
If I had applied, will they consider me? No, they would not. I asked them.
How do you know?
I asked them. I asked the elders. I'm here. I'm here.
Hold on, Dr. Omar. If you say you asked, Dr.
I asked them if I had applied.
So if you say you asked, you actually did. I actually did the route of negotiated democracy.
No, I wanted to know.
So where is the evidence?
Where is the evidence? Because I had already said that I'm not going to do.
You see, my friend is coming with perception to the table.
I started
you need to come to the table.
Dr. Omar, let him speak.
Who have seen the system, who understands the system, is here with you.
I started my efforts in 2011. I have been trying, to look at how these things work. I predetermined, I had already predetermined the way I will go through the system.
Perception.
But I asked them, if I go south where I come from, if I go to the elders and ask them, I asked them, if I bring my CV, there were two guys who were being considered for governor, and one of the guys we went to the same school. So if I had taken my CV, will you consider? I said, no, you have to take it too.
You see, when your argument is based on if.
So the idea is this.
When your argument is based on if.
The word clan, colloquial meaning of the word clan is mafia. And the way that these clans behave is the way the mafia behaves. The big family divides the resources and positions among themselves, leaving out the small families whom they don't consider as part of that family.
Well, he claims he's
he is a small son of a large family. So he's a subsection, but I am not a subsection. I am outside that. So this system discriminates against women, discriminates against minorities, and discriminates against youth.
Then if indeed we're talking about it being...
And it does not consider merit. Merit is the...
You've made that point, yes. Performance to move forward.
Yes.
But if indeed it is unconstitutional and it goes against the rights that people have as individual voters, then why have the authorities let it go on unabated?
That is the question.
But I want to correct a point. I want to correct a point here.
At this point, what we are doing, we were considering actually writing to IEBC.
Who is we?
A group of us who are against this system.
Democracy.
We were considering actually writing to IEBC, asking what is the position of IEBC on this system that discriminates, at the face value.
Where in the Constitution can you exactly point out, which section of the Constitution can you point out that negotiated democracy is unconstitutional?
Freedom of association.
I want to see that.
Freedom of association. Freedom of association. It is not free. It is not free.
Which subsection in the
it is not free.
Which section does it go in?
You're saying that's not one of the rights?
It is one of the rights. The right of the individual is to come and negotiate a democracy.
Yes, so who are you
and
negotiating?
They have got the right.
Who are you negotiating
with my community.
Who are you negotiating for?
I am negotiating with my community to see
with
that.
your community?
Yes, with my community.
Who is your community?
And
they
will come and negotiate with that same community. They will be coming to negotiate
even
with
the
that
tone
community.
of it, even the tone of it is dictatorial.
Yes.
They will come
and
negotiate with that community.
No, within themselves. Whoever is to come and negotiate anything will come to the table of negotiation. What I mean is to the table of negotiation where everybody comes and sits on the corner
and everybody has the majority takes the day.
Not necessarily. I was of the minority and I took the day. And I took the day, by the way. I took the day, by the way. 87% of the votes came to me, and I took by the day.
So where's the role of primaries?
The role of the primaries is there. That is itself primaries that have been developed by the communities for their own harmony and harmonizing themselves. Let me say one thing.
For their own harmony, has it really solved this solution on the inter-clan issues? Because it's still fighting.
I think he's misrepresenting the thing.
Let me not be misunderstood.
Let me
clarify. Let him clarify.
Let me not be misconstrued here. Do I really fully and 100% wholeheartedly support the so-called negotiated democracy? To my answer is it has its deficiencies.
So that's
those deficiencies can be developed and worked through. But has it given a leeway to communities to be able to be discussing within a round table to say what is way forward for us to share the national cake? And therefore, that decision that those communities have done should not necessarily be thrown into the bucket. What really needs to be done is that to say it has its values, it has its deficiencies. These are the lines we want to correct. But I challenge my colleague to tell me exactly what is the way forward for it. Chuck it into the bucket. That's the challenge on it.
Marrying the reality of the ground and the provisions nationally.
Let me put a disclaimer first. Challenge me, but don't shout me down.
No, I'm not.
If you're going to shout me down, you're giving me a chance to speak.
Dr. Omar, that's what the minority groups are saying.
That's exactly what's happening.
Yes.
They're shouting us down.
Yes.
So there is one thing. 34 elders sit down and elect, and the 86% elect him. There are 44,000 voters.
53,000 voters in Wajir South.
Okay, 60,000 in Wajir South.
On the high
60,000 Wajir South. On the very high side. Are they representative of that 63,000? Do they represent that woman who lives in a place called Dif, which is very far away from Wajir, where these things are being done, who has no idea actually these things taking place?
You would rather see the facts on the table about it.
You understand?
You would rather say
the system is this. The system is based on this.
The points.
I asked him not to shout me down. I asked him not to shut it
You're
down.
protected.
That's what's happening.
You're
I'm
protected.
I'm correcting you.
Please, Dr. Omar,
You have
give him a
a
chance.
chance to actually correct me. The system is based on this. The system is a system which is funded by those members of that particular clan who have the money, who have the power. They bring together a group of elders. They choose the favorite son, the one that they think can represent the interest of that.
Not the educated Dr.
No,
Omar?
he is educated, but his opponent was educated. He has a master's degree. So
I have a PhD, by the way.
you have a PhD. I have a PhD. It doesn't make any difference. Well done. I have a
Carry on,
PhD.
carry on
He has a
with the point,
PhD.
yes.
There's no difference. The idea is this: it does not choose the best. It chooses the person who is. It is more of a convenience seeking than merit seeking. Understand? They want to take the person they think will look at the interest of the 34 or so people who are sitting there. You understand? So, what is the way forward? Allow everyone to run.
What my brother is not discussing, its origin, the reason why it is there.
No, you've
the purpose
already
it has,
explained the origin,
and all that.
but people
Allow
are saying
everybody
even
to
from the
seek
ground that it's not
political
working
position.
for the reality that we have right now. But against this strong opposition, or at least reality that has been entrenched for years, you're still running with a separate party.
Yes, I'm running on third way, Ngamia 1, and I'm running on 3 pillars: social security, literacy, and planning of settlements.
Given the reality, do you really have a chance? Given the reality,
given the
of negotiated
I have a chance.
democracy.
I have a chance because you saw on the ground there are people who are uncomfortable with this thing, and very many people are. By the way, his opponent, whom they said will not run, is going to run.
Right.
He's going to run. And he's going to run probably with me because now he's uncomfortable with what happened.
As a person who's going against the grain, then what do you have you analyzed as the translation from the 34 elders who make a decision to those people who actually vote? What would actually change that, to change the minds of the people who are voting? Because that's at the heart of the matter.
We are against. We know we are not foolish. We know whom we are against. We are against tribes. We are against money. We are against money, and we're against tribes. So we know it's a David and Goliath situation. So we're looking at what is the strategy that can attract people, which does not include belonging to the same clan or having the same forefathers. And one of them is, it is only us so far among the four competitors who has actually have a manifesto that people know this guy, if he's elected, this is what he's going to do. None of them has said anything that they're going to do. All they're saying is bring people together, go to Serena, go to State House. So I think that was on TV. That's basically the short and the long of it. So what we are doing is communicate, talk to people, tell them if we elect us, this is what we're going to do. It will not matter whether you're from Clan A or Clan B. What we're going to do is provide a level, playing field for everybody to be able to benefit from the resources of the country.
My brother has been through negotiated democracy himself from his clan,
Dr.
and
Omar,
therefore,
yes,
when
as you give your last comment, I just want to put this to you.
Yeah.
Is this the reason you haven't even bothered to select a political party, because you know the elders will...
Well, the issue is this. I'm on negotiation with political parties, and therefore, that negotiation is still going on. My reality is not about getting the nomination ticket from a party. It
because
is more than that.
From the elders.
No, that's not the point. It is more than that. Right. It is more than sitting down on the table and getting a better stake for my community to ensure that which party is going to be ready to do the development that I am supposed to be giving to the community, or the country is supposed to be giving to the community. If that party in itself comes to the table and tells me, look, you're going to be having the share of the cake of this country, this much for your community, then that is the party I will be going for. And therefore, my purpose of going to this is a purpose is a purpose that is only to deliver services that has been deficient in my part of the world.
All right. You've said there's room for change. What can be done to at least accommodate the sentiments of the people on the ground against negotiated democracy?
Bringing the people to the reality, to understand the reality, that we have to move forward together as one unit.
Yes.
Therefore, we can be able to negotiate. What can really change is that informing them, educating them, letting them understand that the negotiations that we have within ourselves is what is going to reflect on at the national level. And that is what we are looking at.
Okay. Dr. Omar Salah Sheikh, all the best as you continue on with the journey in your aspirations to fill in leadership positions. Thank you for your time, gentlemen. And this conversation continues, at least if shaking hands.